Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Samstapakacharya, Savior of the whole world, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, Jaya and Vijaya cursed by the sages. Text number 3. Yaha tu etayoho dhrutaha dandaha yastvetayo dhruto dando Yastvetayor dhruto dando Bhavadbhir mam anuvrataihi Bhavadbhir mam anuvrataihi भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः सह एव अनुमतः अस्माभिः स एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देव हेलनात् मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः स एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् एतयोरितो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः सैवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् एतयोरितो दण्डो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः स एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो निर्मामनुव्रतैः अस्माभिर्यो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः स एवमनुभतो मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः देवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः स एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् यस्त्वेतयोर्धृतो दण्डो भवद्भिर्मामनुव्रतैः स एवानुमतोऽस्माभिर्मुनयो देवहेलनात् yastvetayoddruto dando bhavadbhirmamanuvrataihi saevanumatosmabhir munayo devahelanat. Everyone has chanted? Yaha, which, to, but, etayoho, regarding both Jaya and Vijaya, Dhritaha, has been given, Dandaha, punishment, Bhavadbhihi, by you, Mam, me, Anuvrataihi, devoted to, Saha, that, Eva, certainly, Anumataha, is approved, Asmabhihi, by me, Munayaha, O great sages, Deva, against you, Helanat, because of an offense. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you, who are devoted to me, have meted out to them. Please repeat this translation. O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you, who are devoted to me, have meted out to them. Text number 4, I'll read by myself. Tadva prasadam Tadvaha prasadayam yadya brahmadaivam param hime tadhityatmakritam manye yatsvapumbhir asatkritaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Please repeat this translation. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me, because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is always in favor of the Brahmanas and the cows, and therefore it is said, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. In the Vedic literature, in the Rig Mantra, hymns of the Rig Veda, it is stated that those who are actually Brahmanas always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. Those who are qualified Brahmanas worship only the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. which means Krishna, Rama, and all Vishnu expansions. A so-called Brahmana who is born in the family of Brahmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as a Brahmana because Brahmana means Vaishnava and Vaishnava means Brahmana. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a Brahmana. The formula is Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who has understood Brahman, and a Vaishnava is one who has understood the personality of Godhead. Brahman realization is the beginning of realization of the personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead also knows the impersonal feature of the Supreme, which is Brahman. Therefore, one who becomes a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. It should be noted that the glories of the Brahmana described in this chapter by the Lord Himself referred to his devotee Brahmana or the Vaishnava. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmanas who are born in a Brahmana family but have no Brahmanical qualifications are referred to in this connection. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Out of 16 devotees, how many are here, Mukund Madhav? 3 plus 3, 6 plus 3, 9. 9 out of 16. 7 devotees are engaged in service. I am not counting Lakshmisha, I am not counting Sri Radha Govinda. 3 are in kitchen, okay. Other 3? the Lord is speaking to the Kumaras. He is addressing them, O great sages, Munayaha, I approve of the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them, the doorkeepers. So the Lord is approving the punishment, which means the doorkeepers should not have stopped the Kumaras. It was a mistake. Then in the 4th verse, the reason the Lord is telling the punishment is approved is because to me, that means to the Lord, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. So practically the whole purport is Prabhupada explaining this Brahmana refers to whom, what kind of Brahmana, which type of Brahmana, the position of the Brahmana. The whole purport is about that. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me. So the Lord takes personal responsibility for the attendants showing disrespect to the Brahmanas, because the doormen are my servitors. So in spiritual life, at least, importance is given for all positions of service. All positions of service, importance is given. And so much so that these doormen have stopped for Brahmanas. The Lord is taking personal responsibility. That means in the Lord's eyes, all the servitors are important, all services are important, and the Lord does not make a distinction between one service being inferior and another service being superior. That's why you can see in Prabhupada's purports, many times he says that those who are cleaning the floor of the temple and a pujari who is doing arati for the deity, both are received equally by the Lord. Why? Because the worship of the deity and the cleansing of the temple floor, both are on the absolute platform. On the absolute platform, Brahman platform. On the Brahman platform, actually there is no difference. There is no difference. Though, in the material world, when some devotee is getting trained up, an untrained devotee may be told to clean the floor, but an untrained devotee is never given the worship of the deity. That distinction we make. But that does not mean that untrained devotee is given cleaning the floor. So cleaning the floor is inferior service. No, it is not inferior service. So one of the values we have to develop as devotees is, in the outside world, in the material world, there are gradations of service, gradations of work. But in devotional service, there is no such gradation as one inferior and one superior. that does not mean that there are no gradations of devotees. There are gradations of devotees. Even in the spiritual world. In the material world, yes. Even in the spiritual world, there are gradations of devotees. So, this is the science of devotional service. And therefore, Prabhupada has given a subtitle to the Nectar of Devotion. What is the subtitle Prabhupada has given to that book? Complete Science of Devotional Service. So we have to study that carefully to understand the science of devotional service. It is not arbitrarily fixed. Gradations of devotees are there, but no gradations of service. It's not arbitrarily fixed. It's a definite science. So here, the Lord is personally taking responsibility for the disrespect shown by his attendants to the Brahmanas. And to what extent the Lord is taking responsibility, he is telling, I take this to be an offense by myself. And therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen. The Lord is asking forgiveness from the Brahmanas. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the position of the Brahmanas being referred here. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagad Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. That's the verse Prabhupada is explaining in this purport. He has not quoted the actual verse in Sanskrit, but he has given the English. The Lord is always in favor of the Brahmanas and the cows. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. And Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is also the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. Worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. What is that? Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Brahmanya means of the Brahmanas. Devaya means the worshipable deity. So, Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the worshipable deity of the Brahmanas. The Lord is always in favor of the Brahmanas and the cows. And that verse also says, Jagadhitaya. Jagadhitaya. He is meant for the welfare of the entire world. Vishnu or Krishna is meant for the welfare of the entire world. Jagathitaya, Krishnaya, Govindaya. He is known as Krishna, he is known as Govinda, he is Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Namaha, repeated obeisances the devotee is offering. He begins with Namaha, Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Namo Namaha, 3 times. I offer my respects, I offer my respects, I offer my respects. So, that also means the personality of Godhead, Krishna, Govinda or Vishnu, is supremely worshipable by everyone. He is worshipable by everyone. Especially by the Brahmanas. That's why the Brahmanas are particularly mentioned as Namo Brahmanya Devaya. Brahmanya Devaya. So, Prabhupada also explains in the Rig Mantra, in the Rig Veda, there's the Rig Samhita. in that the Rig mantra, it is said, Om Tad Vishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Surayaha. What does it mean? Actually, Brahmanas always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Sada Pashyanti. Here Surayaha refers to the devotees. Suribihi, Surayaha refers to devotees. But here, devotees means Brahmanas. Devotees means Brahmanas. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a Brahmana. How is that? Brahman janati iti brahmanaha. One who knows the Brahman is a Brahmana. Devotees are actually knowers of the absolute truth as the personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. That's why devotees are also called Bhagavatam. So devotees know Bhagavan means it includes knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. Includes knowledge of Brahman and Paramatma. So the Brahmanas always look to the lotus feet of Vishnu. Also, it is not mentioned here, but elsewhere it is mentioned, Brahmanas always worship Vishnu because they keep one Saligram Shila or Vishnu Shila or Narayan Shila. Always. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whenever he used to travel, he would take prasadam in the house of a Brahmana. Otherwise, he will take in a temple. No third place. Either in a temple or in the house of a Brahmana. Because in the temples, always Vishnu is worshipped. Because Vishnu is Yajna Purusha, the object of all sacrifices, the object of all types of worship. Object of all types of worship also. Even demigod temples, Vishnu is always worshipped. Just like in Bhubaneswar, there is one temple of Shiva. It's called Lingaraj temple. Lingaraj temple. It's a Shiva temple. But in that Lingaraj temple, the food that is offered to Lingaraj, Shiva, is the prasadam of Ananta Vasudeva. So Ananta Vasudeva, the bhoga is cooked. Then bhoga is offered to Ananta Vasudeva, that is Vishnu. And then the remnants of that is brought and offered to Lingaraj. In Jagannath Puri, Jagannath is offered. Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra are offered bhoga. The remnants first go to Durga Devi. In what form? Bimla Devi. Bimla Devi. There's one temple of Bimla Devi also behind. So, Bimla Devi is offered Jagannath Prasadam. So, formerly at least, and even now in some ancient temples, demigods are always offered Vishnu Prasadam. Because all demigods are Vaishnavas. So, therefore, the point is that Brahmanas always worship Vishnu. Brahmanas always worship Vishnu. And qualified Brahmanas, that's why Prabhupada says, those who are qualified Brahmanas worship only the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which means Krishna, Rama, and all Vishnu expansions. So if there is a Brahmana who is born in the family of Brahmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas, then he is not a real Brahmana. A Brahmana cannot be against the Vaishnavas. You know the pastime of Vamandev? When Vamandev went to ask Bhiksha from Bali Maharaj, and Bali Maharaj agreed, then Shukracharya objected. Shukracharya is a Brahmana. And he is objecting, telling that this brahmachari boy is actually Vishnu. Don't give him. Arey, what is this? Bali Maharaj is thinking, don't give to Vishnu? Why are you telling me don't give to Vishnu? That's why Prabhupada is telling, a so-called Brahmana, typically like Shukracharya, born in the family of Brahmanas, but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas, against Vishnu, he cannot be accepted as a Brahmana. So Shukracharya was rejected by Bali Maharaj. He was rejected by Bali Maharaj. So, a Brahmana cannot be against Vishnu, cannot be against Vaishnavas. That is not a Brahmana. Sometimes we see impersonalist Brahmanas, they are so much against Vaishnavas. So much they are against Vaishnavas. So such people are not actually counted as Brahmanas, because Prabhupada says, Brahmana means Vaishnava and Vaishnava means Brahmana. This is a fact. If a Brahmana always worships only Vishnu, then he is naturally a Vaishnava. Naturally is a Vaishnava. And Vaishnava automatically is a Brahmana, because Vaishnava knows Bhagavan, he automatically also is aware of Brahman and Paramatma. All the three features. So Brahman realization is described as the beginning of the realization of the personality of Godhead. Brahman realization is just the beginning. 18th chapter this is explained. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Then Paramatma, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, next higher realization that is considered to be more confidential than Brahman realization. Correct? 63rd verse. What is the verse? Guhyat guhyataram maya. What is the verse? Iti te jnanam akyatam guhyat guhyataram maya. More confidential. Now I have told you more confidential. Earlier he told about Brahman. Krishna told about Brahman. Now he is telling about Paramatma as more confidential. And Bhagavan as the most confidential realization of the absolute truth. Sarva guhyatamam bhuyaha shunume paramam vachaha. Guhyatamam. Guhya, guhyatara and guhyatama. So three levels of realization of the absolute truth, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And in the Bhagavatam directly it is explained, Vadanti tat tattvavidaha tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. So absolute truth is realized in three phases, three stages. Confidential realization is Brahman realization. More confidential is Paramatma realization. Most confidential realization of the absolute truth is Bhagavan realization. So Prabhupada says here, Brahman realization is the beginning of the realization of the absolute, of the personality of Godhead. One who understands the personality of Godhead knows the impersonal feature
of the Supreme, which is Brahman. Therefore, one who is a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. It should be noted that the glory described in this chapter by the Lord Himself referred to His devotee Brahmana. So wherever the reference is made to Brahmanas in this chapter, it should be understood that the Supreme Lord is referring to Vaishnavas. It should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmana who are born in Brahmana families but have no Brahmanical qualifications are referred to in those who don't have qualification of a Brahmana. That means essentially Brahmana means worshipper of Vishnu. Essentially worshipper of Vishnu. So if there is a Brahmana who is not a worshipper of Vishnu, who is against Vishnu or who is against Vaishnavas, he is not a Brahmana in the strict sense of the term. He is not a Brahmana. So the position of the Brahmana is so much glorified by the Lord in this verse. Position of the Brahmana. Therefore, so many places Prabhupada says Brahmanical culture. Brahmanical culture. This is very important. That society requires a class of people who are dedicated for spiritual knowledge, spiritual upliftment of the society, spiritual goal of life, spiritual cultivation among all the people of the society. One section of the population should be dedicated for this. Otherwise, society will simply become very degraded to animal society. It will not be a human society. Human society means Brahmanical culture. Means there should be a division of society called the Brahmanas. The Brahmana is like the brain or the head of the entire social body. In the Bhagavatam, the 11th canto, it is described the 4 divisions, Varna divisions, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, are like the 4 parts of the social body. In fact, the description of the universal form is the Brahmanas are like the head of the universal form of the Lord. The Kshatriyas are like the arms, the hands. The Vaishyas are like the belly. And the Shudras are like the legs. So all the 4 are important. But even among the 4, the most important is the head. Like if the brain does not function, none of the other parts will function. Correct? Central control is the brain for all the parts of the body. So the head is most important, vital part of the body. So therefore, similarly, the human society, the Brahmanas are the most important. But that does not mean Brahmanas become puffed up and look down upon the others and exploit the others and ill-treat the others. That is completely wrong. That is completely wrong. The Brahmanas are called Purohita. Purohita means one who is meant for the welfare of the entire village or the town or the city, Pura. So Brahmanas are meant for the welfare. What is the proof? The Brahmanas give free service, the best service, the free service to even a Shudra. Formerly, Brahmanas used to learn Ayurvedic science. And they used to give treatment to anybody who requires any medical treatment, Brahmanas would give. They actually conduct sacrifices, or they guide others in worship of the Supreme Lord. They actually prepare the Vedic calendar and they guide. They give the directions for the entire society. So they are meant for the welfare of the whole society. They are considered the representatives of the Supreme Lord in the human society, the Brahmanas. That's why the king, he actually always rules guided by the Brahmanas. The king may be competent to rule because he's trained up, but still he consults always the Brahmanas. Ambarish Maharaj, example. Actually, Ambarish Maharaj, being a pure devotee, he knew what is to be done to break the fast before honoring a guest. Ekadashi Vrata. It's called Ekadashi Parana. He knew that, but still, to set an example, a king has to consult the Brahmanas. So he consulted the Brahmanas. What should I do? And they advised him that you can break the fast before honoring a guest if the time is running out by drinking a little water. And he did that. Durvasa Muni, the guest, became very angry. And you know the story. So, a king, even though he is a pure devotee, he consults Brahmanas. You see the position of the Brahmana? Similarly, the Lord, even though he is the Supreme Lord, his position is always superior, the supreme position. But still, he himself teaches by showing respect to the Brahmanas in the way he is taking responsibility that my doorman disrespected you. Therefore, I consider that it is an offense committed by me, and therefore I beg forgiveness from you. So the Lord holds the Brahmanas in the topmost position. In the 5th canto, there is a very nice description by Lord Rishabdeva while he is instructing his sons, 100 sons. He is telling, he is the Supreme Lord's incarnation. So he is telling, I consider different living beings in different bodies to be in different gradations of consciousness. You know, the different bodies are due to different levels of consciousness. So lowest is the apparently inert living beings like stones, hills, immovable, appearing like Jada, but actually not Jada. They are also living beings. They are so low level of consciousness. Then after that, the immovable plants and trees. Immovable plants and trees. They are also immovable. But in plants and trees, you can see symptoms of life. In stones, hills, you cannot see symptoms of life. Just like Ahalya was cursed by her husband to become a stone. Okay? Now only Rama could recognize, among so many stones lying there, he could recognize this stone is actually Ahalya. And he delivered her just by touching her. It's described in the Ramayana. You've heard this, correct? So stone also is one form. Mountains, hills, also one form. Of course, we know Govardhan Giri is devotee. Giri Govardhan is devotee. So, living beings in different forms in this world. So, the gradation he describes, and the topmost he says, the greatest are the Brahmanas. Greatest are the Brahmanas. So, therefore, the Brahmana's position is held in the highest level even by the Supreme Lord himself. So obviously everyone else also has to hold the Brahmana's position as the topmost. Now such Brahmanas actually are devotees, Vaishnavas. So therefore they are called devotee Brahmana or Vaishnava Brahmana. Vaishnava Brahmana or Brahmana Vaishnava. Both ways they are referred. So which means that devotees are the topmost. Brahmanas are topmost means devotees are the topmost. Therefore Vaishnava Aparad is very, very serious. Vaishnava Aparad is very serious offense among all the offenses. Vaishnava Aparad. If one offends Vishnu, then one can get relief from the offense committed. What is the way? If one commits offense against Vishnu? Holy name. One can actually beg forgiveness for the offense from the holy name. By chanting the holy name, offenses against Vishnu will be nullified. But if he offends a Vaishnava, chanting the holy name is not going to absolve you of the offense. Chanting the holy name is not going to absolve you of the offense. That's why the offense against the holy name is Vaishnava Aparad. It is offense against the holy name, Vaishnava Aparad. So you cannot chant the holy name and expect I will get relief from the offense. I'll become free from the offense. No, not possible. So the only way is what Vishnu told Durvasa Muni. You have to go to the offended Vaishnava and beg his forgiveness, and if he forgives, you are forgiven. Your offense is nullified. Otherwise, the consequence of the offense is very, very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. The examples are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One Gopal Chapel, he offended a Vaishnava. What is the offense he did? I can't remember. What happened to him? He got leprosy. Another Brahmana, he offended Haridas Thakur, Gopal Chakravarti. He also got leprosy. So it is very, very serious. Vaishnava Aparad, very serious. One will be completely ruined if one offends Vaishnavas and does not beg forgiveness. Vaishnavas, of course, are very, 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 very merciful. Kripa sindubhya evacha. So they forgive. But one should beg forgiveness from Vaishnavas in case one has committed an offense. So, because Vaishnavas are very, very dear to the Supreme Lord, the 9th canto, it is said by the Supreme Lord that Vaishnavas are like my heart and soul. Vaishnavas are like my heart and soul. And I am like the heart and soul of the Vaishnavas. There's the intimate relationship between the devotees and the Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Intimate relationship. Very, very, very dear. So such Vaishnavas we cannot offend, who are very dear to the Lord, extremely dear. And we will read more about how dear are such Vaishnavas to the Lord, what extent the intimacy exists between the Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Okay, any questions? No questions. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Exactly at 9:10.